Jesus' death. John 21, 1 to 17. It is now late March, early April, just after the first fruits feast, and during the Feast of Weeks leading up to the last spring feast of the Lord Pentecost, 50 days after Christ's resurrection. It was almost like spring break. A fish barbecue on the beach. Have you ever been disappointed, had a confidence broken? How did it make you feel? Have you ever disappointed someone, broken their confidence, let someone down? How did they feel? How do you feel? What was it like to face them again when you met them? This can be difficult to overcome, whether we are the one who was disappointed or the one who did the disappointing. In John 21, we find the disappointed meeting the disappointing face to face. That can be awkward. It'd been a rough morning following Jesus' death some 3 weeks ago, when Simon Peter said, "I'm going fishing. Anybody coming?" Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, who lived at Cana in Galilee, sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples, said, "Okay, we'll come, Peter." So they went to the Sea of Galilee. Has other names as well. The Sea of Tiberias, the Chinnereth, and the Lake Gennesareth. Peter said, "I'm going out to fish." And so they all went and got in a boat. But that night they caught nothing, not even a single bite. Nothing. Until some guy stood on the beach shore and called out, "Friends, haven't you any fish yet?" "No," they answered. "Been out all night. No fish." "Try throwing your net on the right-hand side of the boat." Said, "You'll find some." Okay. Unbeknown to the disciples, they didn't realize it was Jesus. It was on the shoreline shouting at them. But they gave it a try anyhow. And suddenly they had so many fish, they could not haul the net. Then the disciples whom Jesus loved, that must have been John was the beloved, said to Peter, "Peter, it's the Lord." Then the disciple whom Jesus said, "Come on, let's go and see him." As soon as Peter heard him say that, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his garment around him and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in a boat, towing the overflowing net full of fish to the shore, for they weren't far out. They weren't far out from the beach. And they caught all this fish. When they landed, they saw a fire burning on the beach with the aroma of fish cooking, and bread was nearby. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you've just caught." Peter climbed aboard the boat and dragged the net ashore, and it was full of large fish, 153 in total, and the net was not even broken or torn. How the net held all those fish, they did not know. 4 fish you can get in the Sea of Galilee. There's 4 types: carp, which are for special occasions, mullet, sardines, and tilapia. They call it the St. Peter's fish. Guess why? Because that's what they were eating. Tilapia. They just caught a net full of tilapia. Jesus shouted then, "Come and have breakfast." And he gave them bread and fish to eat. This is the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after being raised from the dead. Does this story so far sound a bit familiar to you? Well, a similar thing happened 3 years earlier. It happened when Jesus started teaching to people out in the open. And he only had a handful of followers then because he had just started his ministry. A crowd gathered to hear him teach by the sea. So he hopped in Peter's boat and asked Peter to row the boat out into the water a little ways. He taught the people. And then Jesus told Peter, take the boat to where the water was deep and cast out your nets. Peter told Jesus that he and his friends had fished all night, but had not caught a thing, not even a bite. But he did what Jesus asked. And as soon as the nets were in the water, they were packed out full of fish. As soon as the nets went in the water, it's almost as though the fish jumped into the nets. They didn't have to fish the fish. The fish jumped into the nets. Even James and John had to come with another boat to help bring in the fish. And both boats were so full of fish, they nearly sank. It was at that moment that Peter realized that Jesus was truly sent from God. Now here it was 3 years later. Same scene was replayed. Same sea, Galilee. Same boats, same fishermen, same Lord. But Jesus is having a Barbie breakfast on the beach. In those days, professional fishermen counted their fish so that they could all get equal shares from the catch. Hence how we know there was exactly 153 fish caught. Everything in the Bible is written for a reason, you know. In Hebrew, every letter has a number attached to it. And that alphabet was also a numbering system. The numbers attached to the letters in a Hebrew word could be added together to give a numerical total. The number 153 is a numerical total for the Hebrew words Ana Elohim, meaning I am God. When Jesus calls the disciples to catch exactly 150 fish, he was declaring that not only was he the Son of God, but that he was God himself, part of the Holy Trinity of God. During the fish breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, do you truly, agape in Greek, love me more than these? Yes, Lord, you know that I, phileo, that's another Greek word for love. Love you, Jesus. Jesus said, well then feed my lambs. The second time, again Jesus said to Simon, son of John, do you truly, agape, love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I, phileo, love you. Jesus said, well, go and take care of my sheep then. Jesus asked a third time. He said, Simon, son of John, do you, phileo, love me? Peter was hurt now because he'd been asked 3 times, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all the things, and you know that I, phileo, love you. It's interesting that Jesus asked Peter 3 times if he loved him, agape. Perhaps he was reminding Peter that Peter denied him 3 times during the trial. Jesus spoke these words in Aramaic, but a Bible account is written in Greek. Phileo love means brotherly love, kind, affection. Says, I like you. Agape love means divine love, kind, attention. Says, I commit to something. I commit to you. A bit like I commit to you in a wedding, an agape love. There is a gap, there is a commitment between two parties, the future husband and wife. And they make a contract to keep that love in sickness and in health. Jesus asked Peter if he loves Jesus more than he loves the other disciples the first time. A second time Jesus asked him about love. Jesus asked Peter if he loves Jesus more than he loves his profession, referring to the things around him like fish and the catches in the boats, because he was a fisherman. And the third time Jesus asked him about love, he asked Peter if he loves him more than the disciples loved Jesus. Jesus said in Luke 5, 1-11, "From now on you'll be fishing for people. And when the disciples return to being fishers of men, they will catch the whole world." All Christians, leaders, are called to feed the sheep or take care of the people they lead. That's in 1 Peter 5, 1-4 and Hebrews 13, 7. Peter is not the only one. We're all supposed to look after one another. Amen. Bow your heads.